Hello and welcome to another Game Nexus Dead or Alive video. Now in this video, I'm actually going to be taking another look at Dead or Alive 4, released in 2005 and in some regions 2006 on the Microsoft Xbox 360. Now the reason I'm doing this video is my original video that I did years and years and years ago, I actually had filmed that in standard definition widescreen and then stretched it out to 720p. Now, strangely enough, I have to say it looks okay, even on my 55-inch TV here playing it on YouTube, but in actuality, when it comes to how good this game can look, it doesn't really look that great. But before we get into the video, I'm just going to whip through the three versions of Dead or Alive 4 that I have. First, of course, there is the American version, which was released here in the USA. As you can see, all the art is fairly the same. There's nothing all that fun about it. Then I had picked up this pack-in version, which came with a console in one of the Asian regions, and you'll notice it has some Asian characters there. And then the disc and the case, and the manual have Ayane and Kasumi on them with those same characters there. And then finally, I picked up the Japanese, I believe this is the first pressing edition. It's not a limited edition. It just came with this hard box with that same art of Ayane and Kasumi on it. Then, of course, you get your Japanese version with the Seto 18 rating on it. Basically the same art as your American version, with Japanese all over it. And the cool part is your disc and your manual have that same Kasumi and Ayane art. And unlike the American version, which has nothing inside, the Japanese version actually has, well, it's actually behind the manual, actually has a little bit of background art inside the case, which is actually pretty nice. And I'll say it before anything, all these versions of the game pretty much play the same, but they're just kind of cool to have. But let's go ahead and go into Xbox 360 games. As I've made mention a few times, my system is RGH2 modded, so all of my games are actually installed on the system's internal hard drive. So then all I have to do is select Dead or Alive 4, then we go right into the game. Then you have your Tecmo Team Ninja logo here coming up on the screen. Followed by the Dead or Alive 4 logo and one of the random backgrounds. And let's go ahead and get right into this game, and let me show you some Dead or Alive 4, now in 720p high definition thanks to the Elgato Game Capture HD. So let's go ahead and take a look. Okay, and as you can see here, a different stage actually displayed than the one that was displayed in on the TV there. Now, one thing I will say from the get-go here, if you're watching these videos in order, the original Dead or Alive video for Dead or Alive 4 was recorded in April of 2011, which means it was made before Dead or Alive 5 or 6 came out, so in hindsight, I really had no frame of comparison between any of the games, and I didn't know what Dead or Alive 5 and 6 were like. And I remember at that point, I was just kind of wishful that more Dead or Alive games would even come out. And the one thing I will say is, especially this early in the Xbox's life, Dead or Alive 4 really does show off how great your high definition graphics truly could look, because back when the original Xbox was only out, there was only a few games that would actually display in like 720p or 1080i, whereas with the Xbox 360, it was kind of standard, so you finally got to see these graphics that they made look so good, look as good as they really could. And that actually goes into what I'm about to say next, is that the models in Dead or Alive 4 are actually heavily based off of Dead or Alive Ultimate, which, from what I understand from some of the people I talked to off of it back in my Ninja Hacker days, the actual models were fairly similar, if not close to the same as they were back in the Dead or Alive Ultimate days. But of course, since you're getting so much more resolution, it just looks so much better. And here's one of the in-game cutscenes. And as you can see there, Dead or Alive 4 brought in the nice in-game cutscenes that the previous two games had actually had, like Dead or Alive 2 and Dead or Alive 3. And as I was saying, the previous games looked really nice, but of course, those games only would display in 480p, and actually having a game that could display in 720p and 1080p really made the overall game look a lot better. And now, as far as comparing this to Dead or Alive 5 and Dead or Alive 6, personally, in my opinion, for like sheer technical fighting, this game truly does excel. And that was actually the first time I actually had a move like that happen, where it was a move that transitioned into the slope like that. And I was so glad I could actually show this in the video, because it made me think of a move that Zack did in one of the games, where he'll jump on the character's back and then surf down the slope if you get him in the right place. But as I was saying, as a sheer technical fighter, I actually find this game to be like really a much more enjoyable game, because the big thing I don't like about Dead or Alive 5 is the moves that kind of just take you out of the experience, like the power blows and all those moves. It's just like something that lately has become a staple of fighting games, to have these moves that are almost like movies that you cannot escape until basically your character has been pummeled way too much. And here's another cutscene. Okay, so the general gist of that is, due to the Project Epsilon, where Hayate lost his memory and he was Ein, she was surprised that he actually come there thinking he was still under mind control, but he's not anymore. He's Hayate again, he's no longer Ein. But as I was saying, I just find when you have like games that have like throws like that and moves like that, especially when they could be used as such desperation moves like they're used in Dead or Alive 5, I find that it just rather cheapens the experience, especially when you're at like the harder level AI, and they just pull their power blow and critical burst and all that stuff out in no time. And now, of course, here is the final scene of this story mode with Alpha 152. And of course, it goes without saying that I actually lost a few times to Alpha 152 as La Mariposa here. And there was a couple matches in this that I lost. Usually it was like 1 or 2 times to some of the other characters, but it seemed like this character, of course, is always the one I lose the most to. And the funny thing is, I was playing some Dead or Alive Dimensions the other day, and I kept on going through the last arcade mode, and I can remember thinking to myself, it seems like in this arcade mode, Alpha 152 is played by your little brother, whereas in real life, in this game, it's like she's played by a professional. And of course, here's your ending for this story mode. Okay, now that was your ending for La Mariposa's story mode. Basically like the same old silly stuff that they've always shown in a lot of the endings. Although personally I've always liked the real-time cutscenes a lot better than the CGs. Sure, they look nice, but I like when it's actually in the real game engine. It looks a lot better. And now I'm going to play a time attack mode. As you can see, here are the characters that aren't part of story mode, and I'm actually going to play as Spartan 458 in this one, who is basically the, like, Halo guest character. Something tells me that, initially they had approached Bungie and asked if they could put Master Chief in this, because honestly, if you look at the Spartan here, she looks like Master Chief. Although apparently her name is Nicole, and she is a Spartan from the Halo series, but really, it looks like Master Chief. There's no way around that. And of course, this character would only be a guest character in this game. And, the only way I can describe the fighting style is the fighting style of the Spartan. There's a lot of like strong moves, but unfortunately, like for strength, you really sacrifice speed. And the Spartan as a character is very slow, which really is to her detriment, because I could say, it goes without saying, especially in the Alpha 152 battle, you feel like you're this like really slow character fighting like a jet plane that keeps on going back and forth and like just beating the heck out of you, and it feels like such a mismatch. And when I had played this, I played this a few times to get the gameplay you're seeing here, and I still lost pretty badly. I can't understand how I could do the time attack in such a short time. And now the funny thing is, Spartan here is the only character who looks like they're actually the same size as Bass, whereas Bass looks so huge compared to everybody else. But Spartan is basically the same height as Bass due to the protection armor suit there. Oh, and if you didn't know, sometimes in story mode, just randomly, you'll face the Spartan in the Halo stage. And there was this actual cutscene in-game where the Spartan comes through this like really big door. And I remember at the time people were saying, oh, well, this is a preview of Halo 3, not realizing it was just a scene from Dead or Alive 4.
And that is how you hit like a girl.
And the funny part is that the actual model for the Spartan here has so many more 1,000 polygons than the Master Chief model in Halo 3 did that there's really no comparison. I remember at some point somebody had a picture of the Spartan model and the Spartan model from Halo 3 next to each other by sheer polygon size, and the Master Chief model looked like an ant that Spartan could step on. But as I was saying earlier, in Dead or Alive Dimensions, even in the last arcade mode, which is quote-unquote hard, which is basically a boss rush mode, Alpha 152 is so easy in that game, and in this game it feels like Tomonobu Itagaki himself is playing as Alpha 152 with the sheer purpose of totally destroying you.
Contact neutralized.
I remember even in Dead or Alive 5, I think in the story mode there was actually a stage where you could face Alpha 152, and after you got through that story stage you unlocked her, which I remember thinking that was so cool that in Dead or Alive 5, and of course at an earlier time, Dead or Alive Dimensions, you could actually play as that character, whereas she's completely unplayable here, that it was a really fun thing. And her actual moveset is so exploitable and so easy to actually take advantage of. She's almost broken if you know what you're doing, especially for those throws. And of course, if you didn't watch my original Dead or Alive 4 video that I released in 2011, the North American release date and the Japanese release date of this game were December 29th of 2005. It's surprising to believe this game is almost 15 years old, as this video that you're watching right now was made in April of 2020. And then in Europe, it was released in January 27th of 2006. And then in the Australia region, it was released in March 13th of 2006. And Dead or Alive 4 was exclusive for the Microsoft Xbox 360. It never got a port anywhere else. And as I said, it kind of goes without saying that this is a really beautiful game. Now, at the point of recording this video, I've played some Dead or Alive 6, but I've played a ton of it. But Dead or Alive 6 still features some of those like power blow moves and stuff, and I kind of like the flow and the rhythm of this game better. And I would really think it would be a better idea, like, if you're going to have like a tournament and pick one Dead or Alive game, Dead or Alive 4 or Dead or Alive 3.1 or 3.2, which are the Japanese and European versions respectively, probably would be one of the best games in tournament play. Although I have to honestly say, Dead or Alive Dimensions on the Citra emulator isn't really that bad of a game either, because you could actually have that game running on big screens and play tournaments with that as well, with all the extra characters who are in that. And what's funny is when you see like the stages that we're playing here in like Dead or Alive Dimensions, they look pretty good for a Nintendo 3DS, but they don't look as nice as they do here, because of course a triple-core Xbox 360 versus a rather simplistic, just about on the same level of the Nintendo Wii handheld. And now this is another one of those stages that's one of those like heavy danger zone stages. And of course, as I had mentioned a few times, the sad part is this is the last Dead or Alive fighting game that series creator Tomonobu Itagaki worked on, and to his credit, this game really is a masterpiece. And I do think, when you really think about it, this is like on a level higher than a lot of different fighting games when it comes to just how well it flows and how well it plays. Sure, some of the characters can be a bit overpowered, but if you really know how to play some of the characters, you can really do well. And of course, the added characters in this game,
That is how you hit like a girl.
who would remain in the series until this day even, were Kokoro, Elliot, and La Mariposa. And the cool part is in later games, La Mariposa, if she was just wearing regular clothes, would actually be displayed in the life bar as Lisa. Which, honestly, I think makes sense, because if she's just wearing, like, regular clothes, why call her by her wrestler name? That's just silly. And one of the cool parts is that the boss from Dead or Alive 2, Tengu, actually makes a non-story mode appearance in this as well, which I thought was a really nice touch, because you never really think that Tengu from Dead or Alive 2 would make it into the game. But the funny part is, it looks like Tengu was actually made to be in Dead or Alive 3. One of these days I'm gonna have to, like, cobble together a video about this, but there actually are files in the loadfile.afs for Dead or Alive 3 that say Tengu. And if you put them on a character, you can get a semi-working Tengu moveset in Dead or Alive 3, but it's really buggy, so they never got a chance to finish it. Which is why when I'd made my last video, I'd said the reason why it said congratulations on the Xbox 360 launch, instead of rushing Dead or Alive 4 out for the Xbox 360 launch, they took their time and they took a couple extra months, and I think it really helped that this game actually was not rushed out for the launch of the Xbox 360, because they got to finish all the small nuances and finish the game, basically, instead of, like, putting an unfinished game out in the case of Dead or Alive 3.0, which was what the American version was called. And I love that move for Spartan, her plasma grenade.
Just not as strong as me.
That's still one of the moves that entertains me the most.
Your luck just ran out.
And now, if you listen very carefully in this stage, you'll actually hear the Halo theme playing during this. And it also plays in the Halo stage in this game as well, which, as I said, will randomly appear in the story mode. But there's no actual way to determine if you'll get that stage or not. And I think I lost to Alpha 152 here for at least 10 to 15 minutes. So, yeah, if I had not cut out all my losses to Alpha 152, it would have been a much longer video. But if you ever want me to see me make some videos of any of the other characters in this game, just let me know, as I will probably at least show one featuring the Halo stage and some of the other small nuances one of these days. But this has been another Game Nexus Dead or Alive video. By all means, play Dead or Alive 4. It's an excellent game. I very highly recommend it, and it's going to be dirt cheap in the year 2020 or thereafter. And it really is a great fighting game. Well, this has been another Game Nexus Dead or Alive video, and I shall see you later. Bye.